It starts with a sound you don't expect to hear on a quiet farm. A deep, wet ripping noise, like someone tearing sod out of the ground with bare hands. At first light, the tomato rows look bruised. Stems snapped, fruit crushed, irrigation lines dragged sideways. Then you see the tracks. Not one set, but dozens, overlapping like a stampede map. The fence corner that held yesterday is pushed inward today. And the most unsettling part? The damage isn't random. It's organized. Feral hogs don't wander in. They scout. They test. They return on schedule. One night, they touch the edge. The next night, they move deeper. By the third visit, they behave like they own the place. Farmers call it an invasion for a reason. Because once a sounder learns a route, it becomes a routine, and routines are hard to break. Tonight, the plan is simple. Stop them before they reach the crop again. But nothing about this is simple in the dark. The hogs know the terrain better than anyone. They use tree lines like cover, creek beds like highways, and fence gaps like doors they've memorized. They can freeze for minutes, listening, then explode into motion without warning. If the team moves too early, the smartest hogs stay outside and learn. If the team waits too long, the sounder hits the tomatoes and disappears back into brush. That's why the operation begins with silence and data, not noise and chasing. Cameras are already watching the 3 entry points. The low fence corner, the muddy creek crossing, and the narrow brush tunnel that funnels straight into the field. A bait line is set, not scattered, but placed like a trail that pulls them away from the rows and into a controlled lane where visibility is clean and every angle is safe. A heavy-duty steel corral gate stands open, looking harmless, waiting for the moment the entire sounder commits. And then the first shape appears. A scout hog steps out of the darkness, nose low, reading the air. It stops at the edge of the lane, turns its head, and listens. Another shadow joins it. Then another. The brush behind them begins to move like a living wall. You can't count them at first. Just the rhythm of bodies, the soft drum of hooves, the low grunts as they stack up at the entrance. This is the critical window. One mistake, and the farm loses weeks. One clean decision, and the invasion stops here. Because the most dangerous part isn't the herd you can see. It's the old boar you can't. The one that hangs back, watching, waiting for you to fail. And when he finally steps forward, you'll have seconds to prove whether the system works or whether the farm belongs to them. Somewhere beyond the fence, a branch snaps. The team doesn't speak. Only the wind and the distant rustle of leaves. The open gate is still, perfectly still, and that stillness feels like a dare. When the herd commits, there will be no second attempt tonight. The camera light blinks once. Then everything starts moving. If it fails, the farm pays at dawn now. The lane holds its breath as the sounder pours out. Scouts first, then the heavy bodies behind them, spreading wide like a moving net. They don't rush the tomatoes yet. They test the ground, sniff the bait trail, and pause whenever the wind shifts. The trap stands open, ordinary, almost invisible, exactly how it should look. The team stays back in shadow, watching through optics and cameras. No shouting, no sudden movement. Every step tonight is designed to avoid teaching the herd a new lesson. The goal is not to scatter them. The goal is to let them feel safe long enough to commit. A young hog breaks from the line and angles toward the crop rows. It hits the funnel panels and turns, forced back into the lane. Another tries the opposite side, then hesitates when it meets the same barrier. The herd begins to stack in the only path that remains. Dirt lifts under their hooves. Breath puffs in the cool air. The sounder is being guided without knowing it. Then the older boar appears. He doesn't step into the open. He floats at the edge of the brush, half hidden, reading everything, smells silence, the shape of the gate. Minutes pass. The smaller hogs feed, jostling, grunting low. The temptation to trigger early hits hard, because the group is already inside, but the operator waits. If the old boar stays out, he will pull survivors away, and the invasion will return stronger. The old boar finally shifts forward, one careful step at a time. He pauses at the threshold, lifts his head, and listens. The field feels too quiet. A gust of wind shakes the fence wire. He freezes again. The whole sounder stills, like one body with one mind. The operator holds. When the boar lowers his head and crosses a line, the moment snaps into place. The gate drops smoothly. No slam, no chaos burst, just a clean close that seals the entire group inside. For a second, the sounder surges toward the panels, then realizes there is no weak corner to bulldoze. Steel holds. Anchors bite. The herd settles into containment, trapped by its own routine. But the night isn't finished. A second alert flashes from the creek camera. Movement on the far side. Another group, smaller, faster, skirting the perimeter while the main sounder is contained. They're not charging the lane. They're searching for a gap, probing for the soft edge that always exists somewhere. The response is immediate and silent. A panel line shifts. A corner is sealed. Bait is pulled off the crop edge and reset toward a safer corridor. The tracking dog runs the fence on a long line, nose down, confirming the direction without engaging. Far ahead, shadows dart, then vanish into thick cover. Now the farm is a chessboard. One sounder contained, one still hunting for an opening. The storm clouds thicken. The wind changes again, and somewhere in the brush, the second group stops moving, listening, deciding. In the next minutes, either the corridor works again or the fence breaks, and the tomatoes take the hit. Tonight, at first, the second sounder feels like a rumor, just a flicker on the creek camera, and a soft rustle where the fence meets brush. But the prints in the mud confirm it. Fresh, tight, purposeful. They're moving in the same disciplined pattern as the first group, only faster, more cautious, and harder to read. The team doesn't chase. Chasing turns darkness into an advantage for the hogs. Instead, the farm is tightened in net. The weak fence corner is braced. The creek crossing is narrowed. The short panel line turns an open edge into a guided lane. Bait is placed like a breadcrumb path, pulling the sounder away from the tomatoes and into clean ground where visibility is clear and escape routes are limited. Minutes crawl. The wind shifts again. The dog's posture changes, head low, body tense. Then relaxes as the scent line turns toward the corridor. That's the confirmation the cameras can't always give. The herd is choosing the route you want. A single scout steps out first, sniffs the trail, and pauses at the new barrier. It circles once, then twice, as if measuring the risk. Behind it, shadows gather. The brush bulges with bodies. The sounder is stacking at the entrance, ready to surge through. This is where most operations fail. A rush move, a loud sound, a clumsy light sweep, and the group explodes into cover and rewrites its routine. But tonight the pressure stays controlled. The lane stays quiet. The gate stays open. The operator waits for the same signal as before. Full commitment. The scout finally steps in. Another follows. Then the main bodies roll forward, heads down, feeding, calm enough to forget the edge of danger. The last straggler hesitates, always the last one, then crosses a line. The gate closes cleanly. No slam, No panic stampede through crops, just steel locking a routine in place. The sounder surges once, then settles as it realizes the corners hold. The farm, for the first time in weeks, stops feeling like a target. Dawn arrives with the kind of quiet that feels suspicious. The team walks the rows. No fresh rooting. No snap stems. No drag irrigation. The fence line is intact. The creek mud is undisturbed. Cameras show the tree line empty, the corridors unused. That's the real proof. Not a dramatic moment, but the absence of one. Because feral hog control isn't about one night of action. It's about breaking the return cycle. When you control the corridors, deny the staging pockets, and refuse to teach the herd new shortcuts, the invasion loses its rhythm. The farm stays productive. The community stays safer. And the darkness stops belonging to them. But the cameras remain. Even after success, the smart move is vigilance. A new print, a single broken reed, a fence wire push an inch. Those are early warnings. If they return, the system is staged. Lanes marked, panels ready, triggers tested. On farms like this, survival is preparation. And preparation is what keeps the harvest from becoming tonight's feast next.